Right, welcome back to the marketplace. We're talking about NISIP, the National Irrigation Sector Investment Plan. We're talking about positivity or even productivity increase by 200%, 300% when it comes to, having some of the yields that we're used to having, food security, filling our food baskets in the country. Engineer, we were talking about, how we're going to chart NISIP, how exactly we're going to be going into this uncharted territory by having a system or a framework that is more predictable. Now, I've seen that there's going to be a business unusual concept that's going to be running with NISIP. What exactly does this entail? Why is it business unusual? What is this framework that is so different from other projects?
It's a framework of coordination, you see. Concerted efforts towards something that is of a national scale. And that is why we are calling upon all stakeholders, actually, more so the farmers. You see, farming also puts some money in your pocket.
Right.
It's a way of, it's a livelihood. It's a means to an end that solves both the local economy and also the national economy gets revenue, and also we earn foreign exchange.
Right.
These efforts, it's not we don't want this to become the normal conversation that people have. And then it gets dusted on your shelves, dead and forgotten.
Right.
It is something that we actually have put teams to follow up consistently. And this will involve all of us, development partners, NGOs, blended financing, and also our country has to look positive to the eye of the investors, because these are people who are bringing huge chunks of money to our country, helping us solve a problem that has plagued us for years, food security. And also, in the process, we get employment opportunities for our young people. And by the way, irrigation is very cool. We have modern technology now to the young people.
Engineer, you do know that the average age for the farmer in the country is now 61 years.
Yeah.
A year or so back, it used to be 60 years. It's growing more unpopular according to statistics. How is irrigation cool? I understand that you're a very young CS, you're within the youth bracket, but how are you making it cool?
First, the old furrow kind of irrigation is not very interesting to the young people.
Right.
Young people want ingenuity, they want creativity, and also they want funds, resources.
Right.
Once you produce and you have no market, clearly it's not fun to anyone.
Right.
So when a young person embraces technology, because being young is being dynamic, it's being youthful, is also being in a position to experiment with the technologies that are coming up.
Right.
As a country, we need to keep abreast with emerging technologies on matters irrigation. Secondly, that is not enough, because with the produce, without a market, we are in trouble.
Right.
So we are also doing the whole food chain link up, because you produce, we provide you aggregators and link you to the market. And also, this also ties up with the government agenda, especially on CAIPs, that is County Aggregated Industrial Parks.
Right.
I know we have all of them ongoing. So my docket on irrigation will be part of the supply chain to these CAIPs.
Right.
And apparently, because of the situation we find ourselves in, the age of an average farmer being 61 is not very conducive.
Right.
Our strength as a nation is our youth.
True.
So unless we get our young people, and that's why this is very targeted to the young people, unless we get our young people into actual production, then that food deficit that we have as a nation will take a while to actually cover.
Right. A farmer-led, irrigation project, a farmer-led irrigation, framework is what we're talking about. And if we are focusing on the farmer, one of the main concerns of farmers is, market access. It's very important right now. I went to Bura and Hola, and I did realize that some of the, parcels of land, there's sunflower seeds. And some of those sunflower seeds do undergo, a value addition before they're exported. What are some of the other things that are being done in order to ensure that farmers get the market that they need in order to pull in the youth as well, because the youth go where the money resides?
That's a very interesting statement. Definitely. And the young people now actually want to be successful at a young age. Sure. That is, it makes them very, very hardworking to achieve the goal. But the discussion, especially on farmer-led, Said, when we say farmer-led, we mean a farmer has skin in that game, in that farming. Projects are more sustainable if the participants have something to lose in the process.
Right.
So farmer-led is where these are, I call them small-scale farmers, that now we are trying to have an expanded, that we maximize their potential, because once they invest in these irrigation schemes, it's on a personal basis.
Right.
All we do as a ministry and other stakeholders is actually provide them with irrigation water first, that is very key,
right,
where possible. Secondly, provide them with technology and build their capacity, advise on what are the high value crops.
Right.
So the farmer invests in the farming, we invest in bringing aggregators, as you said, and linking them to markets. So the synergy between us and the farmer, because now the farmer is more motivated to farm with the input you're giving. Fertilizers, things like that, the substrate fertilizers.
Right.
These are things that boost the morale of the farmer. So the farmer is more motivated to produce more in the land space that is available to him.
Right.
And this way I talked about, these are farmers with 0.5 to 2 hectares of land. That is between 1 and 5.
Right.
In the other farmers under the same bracket, but they don't have a reliable source of water.
Right.
So that's why we have a program in the ministry, what we call households, ponds,
Water pans, yes.
that are actually targeted to individual farms. The capacity of these water ponds vary between 100 meter cubic to, 1,000 to 3,000.
Right.
So that the farmer, in case the rain is not enough, during the rain season he actually harvests that water instead of it becoming surface runoff. And in case the rain is not enough in the process, the farmer can use that water to complete the stage of the crop on his farm. It's a very interesting thing.
Right, and clearly people are very interested, because I'm seeing some questions are coming in. Do send some of your feedback on the numbers and social media handles on your screen. There's a question from Delva Koech who's asking, ask the CS if there are any plans for urban water harvesting. I think probably this is someone who lives within Nairobi or within a cityscape. What are some of the plans for water harvesting?
Thank you, Koech. That is someone who has lived in our urban centers.
Clearly, yes.
And we are well aware of the challenges that we face, especially on provision of water. Urban water harvesting, first of all, is what we call home-based water harvesting.
Right.
And that is at your homestead level. That is roof harvesting.
Right.
You have to start from the basics first. Controlling the water that hits our roofs, through our gutters, into our small storage tanks at homes, solves the problem of flooding mostly in our towns.
Right.
Secondly, we need to have what we call detention and detention parks in our towns, because some towns have become concrete jungles.
Right.
It's the roof to cabro, which is a pavement, so there's no time for us for this water to infiltrate and become groundwater. So even our aquifers in our towns are deteriorating with time due to lack of recharge.
Right.
That water goes to the drain, it finds itself in a drain that was sized for a certain amount, and now the volume is much more because there's no infiltration to the ground, and we have flooding on our centers. Now, the water that escapes the homestead water harvesting and does not become groundwater recharge because there is no enough contact time between the water and the ground, or there is no actual contact because it's hitting the roof, which is impermeable, and then hits a pavement, which is impermeable, finds itself in our river courses. And that cumulatively, based on the size of the catchment, causes havoc in terms of flooding on the downstream. That's when I talked about doing very serious objective dams in the process.
Right.
Those are the ones that become our line of last defense.
Right.
To store the water, then we can use that water for treatment. We can treat it for domestic use. We can use it to produce hydropower, or we can use it to irrigate our lands. And that becomes an entire cyclic kind of setup.
Right. Engineer, the Water Resource Authority has time and time again, flagged the depleting groundwater, especially when it comes to digging of boreholes that have not been either, approved or even checked properly, because there are some developers who are not going through the correct channels. We see buildings coming up every single day, especially in our city. This is a growing concern. What are some of the solutions?
And I will acknowledge that is a challenge. Some people are doing things not following the correct procedure. And that's why WRA is a regulator. Water Resources Authority is a regulator. They don't only regulate groundwater, they also regulate surface water, because there are levy charges that go to WRA. Let Kenyans understand that water is like oil and gas. It's a natural resource. It can be exhausted if we don't use wisely and conserve. So when boreholes are done, because the set out procedure is you apply for a license, you do the surveys to find out whether there is actually an aquifer where you want to drill, and the ministry and the WRA can advise you on the right place to actually do drilling, so that you don't end up with dry boreholes, because we have cases where Kenyans have invested, drilled without permissions or approved geological surveys, and found dry boreholes. So that is an investment sunk and investment wasted. Right. Secondly, if these boreholes are too close to each other, it's a problem because of recharge area. So you find during the rain season, the water table is up because of recharge, so most boreholes have water. Right. During the dry period, you find maybe your borehole doesn't have water because you not adhere to the distances, the radio distance between one borehole and the next. And to solve all that problem is, I would ask Kenyans to actually follow the due process, because we have experts in the ministry who can advise you accordingly. And it also helps in updating our records and database. Right. Because if you drill without permission, then your borehole is not in our database. So when we are advising the next person who comes with following the due process, and we are not aware of your borehole, you also, in a way, indirectly affect the positioning of his borehole. And that is a challenge that all of us have to agree and work towards the right procedures of doing things as a country.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Engineer, for those sentiments. Let's take a very short breather, but when we come back, we delve into that a little bit more, and then we come to realize also NISIP. What does it mean for you? Right there in your home, how exactly is it going to make your life easier? What does this mean for the common wananchi? Don't go too far. We'll be right back.